Hello and welcome. My name is Shannon Kemp and I'm the Chief Digital Manager of Dataversity. We would like to thank you for attending Dataversity Demo Day, Data Catalogs. We're very excited to have you join us for this event set up to give you an overview of tools and services available for your data management programs. Just a couple of points to get us started. Due to the large number of people that attend these sessions, you will be muted during the event. For questions, we will have a Q&A at the end of each presentation today, and we'll be collecting questions via the Q&A section. Or if you like to tweet, we encourage you to share highlights of questions via Twitter using hashtag #DVDemoDay. And if you'd like to chat with us and with each other, we certainly encourage you to do so. To open the chat or the Q&A panels, you may find those icons in the bottom middle of your screen for those features. And for this event, we will send a follow-up email within the next week to all registrants containing links to the recordings and slides from today's presentations. Now let's kick off our fifth session with Octopai, and let me introduce our speaker, Amichai Fenner. Before joining Octopai, Amichai had years of experience as a full-stack BI and data expert. He has expertise in data and analytics methodology and architecture, as well as technical skills in different data tools, from ETLs to reporting and analytics. And as a product manager at Octopai, Amichai is in charge of the development of the data catalog. And with that, I will give the floor to Amichai to get his session started. And especially given the time that you are in, really appreciate it. Hello and welcome.
So yeah, thank you, Shannon. Thanks everyone for joining. I hope you had an insightful day so far. As Shannon mentioned, I'm a product manager at Octopai. My name is Amichai Fenner. And today we're going to be speaking of data catalogs. Hopefully you still have patience for that today. So I'll get right into it, right? We're talking about, in the end, literacy that creates business value. As data professionals, we focus on creating one source of the truth for data, right? We've been doing that for years. That's great. But as the data landscape grows and spreads, as well as our teams grow and spread, I mean, look at the last few years, we've all started working remotely if we hadn't done so until then. And that just kind of really, really brings up the need to have one source of the truth about the data, not only of the data. Without it, we really create dependencies and bottlenecks in consuming the data. And that's really what we've been working so hard on achieving for many years. I mean, I, for one, was focused on this in a few different companies. So let's talk a little bit about the major challenges that data professionals are facing right now. So we're talking about lack of visibility and control of data and business knowledge that's scattered through the entire ecosystem. Just to mention a few of the main challenges we're looking at a little more in detail is we've got inefficient use of the data, lack of independence in using the data. The amounts of data are growing as we speak. We don't really have a single source of the truth about the data. There's increased pressure constantly on the teams for analytics and reports. And there's loss of, a lot of tribal knowledge. So let me run this by you, right? This scenario. We've got someone from sales who reaches out to the BI team, says, I need a certain type of data. I need data for a sales report that I'm building right now. And let's say they reach out directly to the BI manager, who then reaches out to his data architect, says, hey, can you please get in touch with VP sales who's looking for data about XYZ? What report should he be using? And, of course, the VP sales, when he reached out requesting that data, just give me sales data. For him, it's kind of like, imagine if you walk into Starbucks and you say, hey, can I get a coffee? You know exactly what you want, but the person on the other side of that counter is like, well, what kind of coffee is it going to be? What do you like in your coffee? There's a lot of different questions about it. It's the same thing with data. Right? It seems really simple to the person who's requesting it, but there's of course many, many different flavors that you need to make sure that you're getting it right. Anyway, the data architect then starts to try and clarify all this, and he's back and forth with the sales. And in the end, we realized that actually the person who is really the expert in that domain, he's not in the company anymore. We've got all kinds of tribal knowledge that's been lost, and now we're going to kind of hunt for this data and see who can help and fill in. So I'm sure this sounds familiar to some of you guys. Cameras are off, but I'm sure some of you are nodding. And this is very common. We see this basically with all customers that are coming to look at Octopai as a solution to this, to create that kind of one place where everyone goes to find and use their data correctly. So let's talk a little bit about achieving data literacy. So we're talking about in Octopai, we're talking about leveraging automation to create this one source of the truth for your data. And at Octopai, we divide that into 3 areas that we handle. One area is the discovery. Data discovery helps you find where the data is in your entire ecosystem. So whether it's in your reports, in a process, in the database. We're talking about traceability of the data, being able to quickly understand how data got from one place to another. Being able to quickly understand what would be impacted if I made a certain change in a certain area within my landscape. Let's say I make a change to a process. What would be affected down the line? What risk is involved? Maybe that's not a risk that I want to take right now. Maybe it's just something that needs to be managed. So that's the data lineage, providing that traceability. We're talking about the data catalog, which is the kind of company-wide consistency, which self-creates and updates, which is also collaborative and enables kind of that really cultivating that data-driven kind of mindset within all the different data citizens. We're talking about maximizing the value of data through 3 main features. We're talking about making sure it's always up to date. We achieve this through automation. We harvest the different assets and all the metadata from the entire BI landscape automatically. Super important. If you try to do any of these things, whether it's discovery, lineage, or catalog manually, it's really, really hard to maintain. It's hard to create in the first place, but that's achievable. You can bring on a big team, they can create all these different things, but then making sure that your lineage is always up to date, making sure that your catalog always has the latest updates of the metadata, that's really hard to do. And if you don't do that, all your efforts kind of go to waste and the entire thing becomes stale. And that's the last thing we want. So automation is key no matter what platform you choose for your catalog and lineage. We're talking about you must have full visibility into the data journey. Traceability is not nice to have, it's something that you must have. It helps build trust in the data, it helps you quickly be able to solve issues in the data. It helps the reliability of the data, which is crucial. And of course, being able to preserve tribal knowledge is super, super important. There's so much information that goes between data professionals by email, by phone, by messaging apps, but then it's not really documented and associated with specific data assets. And all that information kind of really goes to waste, which could help other users. Same questions come up from users over and over again from different users. And if we can only capture that information in a place where everyone can see it, it's transparent to everyone, and they understand exactly what data it's speaking of, we'll save a lot of time for all the parties involved. So that's the preserving the tribal knowledge. These 3 are kind of the main pillars and the foundation to have successful data literacy, which will enable your organization to really be data-driven. So let's see it in action. Let's see what we're talking about. I'm going to stop this share. Okay, so this here is Octopai's automated data catalog. As mentioned, we automatically harvest the assets from the entire landscape. So let me pop up the layer setting over here to show you what we're talking about. Octopai automatically harvests assets from the different reporting tools, databases, ETLs. We also have assets that can actually be created within the catalog, such as policies and projects and data sets and so on for metadata that for data assets that cannot be harvested. Reports, we kind of divide into a few different layers, since the data catalog is really going to serve many different positions within your company. You're going to have business users who only want to, view reports and understand what they're looking at, be able to see a specific KPI in a report and have a place to refer to that explains what that KPI is, right? So these type of users are going to be interested primarily in the presentation layer of reports and the reports themselves. Whereas you're going to have more technical users, maybe self-service users who are building these reports. They're going to want the semantic layer of this report and the physical layer as well. You're going to have different personas that maybe you have data scientists that are building different models, and they actually need the assets that reside in the database. This is their source, so they're going to look at the assets over here, and so on. Every user can actually set this up the way they want. It's a setting, so it gets saved to their profile. And if they're a business user who's only looking at presentation assets or reports, they are going to set that up that way, and that's all they'll see until they make another change. I'd like to demo this through kind of a use case. So let's imagine that we're now that VP sales who's looking for a summary report of sales. So instead of reaching out to the BI manager and having that whole fiasco that we just discussed, they can easily reach out into the data catalog. So we said they're looking for a summary report, which is associated with sales. So let's search anything that's been tagged as sales over here. We can filter it out to say, only show me reports, actually. Hit apply and get the actual report that's associated with sales and also includes the term summary. So that part is easy, right? So far, so good. You can go ahead and click on this and see the following about this asset. So what can he see? He can see it's a Power BI report. He can see it's approved. By the way, he knew that from the results over here. Anything approved gets this badge over here indicating it's approved. You can also see it's got a rating of 4.5. It's been rated by 2 different people. If we click on this, we'll actually see who's been rating. So the Octopai support rated it, and Holly provided rating for this asset as well. This is important because it's going to help that user see other people that are also using this asset that have high engagement with it. And if they have different questions about this asset, these may be some of the different users that he may want to reach out to. And we'll see how collaboration plays a role here in a moment. But keep this in mind. These are different people that that user may want to interact with, and you can see it right here. We can also see here whether the data has been indicated as sensitive. So we can see, yes, this asset has been indicated as sensitive. We can see the different tags. So it's been tagged with sales, Salesforce, EMEA, GDPR, a certain project that this asset is involved with. We can see it's also been tagged with PII, with orders. Of course, PII is directly relevant over here to a summary report, probably, just to give you the idea of how tags are used. Let's move down to the description, assuming that our user says, hey, this is good for me. I don't mind it's got sensitive information. It's internal use. It's approved, so that's good for me. Rating of 4.5 looks good, and Power BI is a platform I'm familiar with. Let me go ahead and see what other documentation we have about this asset. We can see the description over here. Yearly EMEA sales report contains detailed sales information, yada, 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 all this information about the report. Technical description, so the yearly sales for last year at account level. Origin description, so Octopai, by the way, if there already is a description in the source, for example, in SQL Server, if you've got descriptions in the built in there, we automatically harvest them and we show them here within the origin description coming from the extended properties. There's a calculation description over here. So since it's a report, we just have the general filtration for the report, all data filtered for EMEA only, right? It makes sense according to the description. If there's a calculation, so relevant sometimes for semantic layers, we'll display it automatically over here. We can see it's a report. We can see the data type when it's relevant. We can see the path for this report over here. We can see the source system that's been documented as Salesforce. We can see two really important roles about this asset. We can see Sophia Davis is the data owner over here, responsible for the business rules about this asset. We can see the data steward, Jeff, who's responsible for the technical aspects of this asset and the correctness of the data, and making sure it actually conveys what the owners assigned. We can see who last updated it, when it was updated, when it first entered the system. Looking good so far. Our user thinks this information would be, is exactly what they're looking for. And this report can actually be useful to them. Next down here, we can see all the linked assets. So it's a report. Octopai automatically links all the different KPIs coming from the report to the actual report. We can also add additional assets to link over here to this report. So say we've got a project that we create an asset for, we can create this report asset and link it to all the different reports that it's associated with or other data assets that it's associated with. In this example, we can see over here, the user can automatically see all the different assets that are associated to see, okay, let me see what KPIs this report includes. Guys, this is without even going into Power BI. They're already understanding what this report that exists in Power BI represents and what it's got inside. So just for example, we can go ahead and say, okay, total due sum, that sounds like exactly the information I'm looking for. Let me go ahead and click on that and then get all the information for total due sum. Now we can see the description for total due sum, technical description, everything we just saw, and this time it's linked to the actual report, right? Perfect. So everything looks good so far, but our user still has questions about this data. He's got the post option over here. He can click on it and see all the different documentation of conversations that have taken place about this asset. So what you can see over here is Holly reaches out to Jeff, asking a questions, look like the sum is rounded. Can you let me know if the amount is rounded up or down or whatnot? The idea of having the ability to document all this directly here within the asset, mentioning someone, them getting an email with all the details of the question and the asset that's being discussed over here, and being able to reply directly within the catalog has huge benefits. First of all, everyone knows exactly what they're talking about. Second of all, the next user that comes in can see the entire chain and understand. For example, Yurit here reaches out to Amichai Fenner, me. What is the source of the exchange rate? We've got Sophia, who actually replied over here saying the source is the daily representative rate that we ingest on a daily basis. Next user that comes in doesn't have to ask that same question. If this information wasn't important enough to document in the general description area, it's still documented over here and they'll get that answer. If they have a question that's not mentioned over here yet, they can just go ahead, create a new post, and shoot up notification to the relevant persona, whether it's someone who owns, governs, or interacts with this asset. So far, so good. So let's say Jeff over here, to be able to answer the question, let me know if the amount is rounded up or down. He kind of needs to know, okay, let me know what processes are involved in this, right? Jeff now wants to know, he doesn't remember where that happens, but obviously it's in one of the processes that's involved with getting this data here. That's when the importance of traceability comes in. And what Jeff can do is he'll get the notification. He can click on the link directly to the system, pop this up, and then say, okay, if I want to know the traceability of this asset, I can click on the three dots over here, click on end-to-end column lineage. What this does is it provides visibility that allows him now to see how the total due sum traces all the way back through these different database objects, processes, that are all involved in getting the data into that report. Okay, he can dig into any one of these specific processes. For example, he can dive into this view over here and say, let me see actually the inner system lineage for this view, or let me see this entire report within what it looks like in lineage. We'll show you that in a moment, actually. Another thing you can do over here is say, okay, let me see what else this entire view is associated with. Click on the three dots over here, say at high level, just show me everything that's associated with this view. Click on the cross system lineage and gets this picture over here that shows this is the view we were just looking at. These are the different reports associated with it. These are the different ETLs that provide data into these tables that are later used by this view. Same thing can be done for any other object. So if I grab the report we're just looking at, click on it here, click on the cross system lineage for it, and then we can discover that actually there is much more involved besides for that view. This report actually gets data from multiple tables and views, which include data that's being populated by multiple ETLs. All these blues over here are ETLs. Each of these ETLs, by the way, is fed data through many different, from many different sources. And this traces back kind of, you can navigate back as far as needed. If you want to drill in and kind of see the inner system lineage, where all the logic happens for populating this specific table over here, let's say DWH dim product, we can go ahead, click on the plus over here, drill in and see the entire lineage at column level for the entire SSIS data flow over here. We can see the tables it's reading data from. We can see the columns that are being populated. If there are different calculations, we can see those as well over here. Perfect. Let's get back up to our cross system lineage. And the entire thing connects. So once Jeff is here, for instance, and he's got the answer now to his question, let's say now he's investigating the view over here from another angle, and he just wants to say, okay, let me see what's been documented about vSales product summary and make sure that, that's correct and it makes sense to what I know or the answer that I'm going to provide in a moment. He can then click on this and just view the same view, but this time within the data catalog and see all of its documentation. So that was kind of Octopai's catalog in a nutshell. Let me go back to the presentation. Okay. So let's recap a little bit. The data catalog connects all data citizens. An effective data catalog will help your users answer questions such as, where they should look for the data, who's responsible for it, is it relevant and important, what it represents, what are the different sources of this data, what else is this data associated with, and really ultimately how this data can be used. An automated data catalog will boost your analytics, it'll boost your business decision-making, and boost all those different data-driven products and initiatives you have. It results in more use of data, efficient use of data, accurate use of data, and all these bring to the data monetization that obviously we're all working so hard on achieving. A little bit about Octopai's platform. So it's completely SaaS, it's automated. So everything I just showed you now, all the different harvesting of the assets, creating the lineage, our discovery, all of that is completely automated. It provides you visibility and control of the metadata from all the different components of your landscape. Everything kind of gets brought into a common language. We've got GPS-like navigation that helps you understand how the data moved from one place to another through the 3 different kinds of lineage that I just showed. It's quick and easy to implement and use. Everything is up and running within 24 to 48 hours. We put a big focus on having it intuitive and user-friendly. That's actually really important. As you understand, the data catalog is going to serve many different users. If any one of your users or anyone in that pipeline fails to adopt the catalog, it really loses of its value. So we put a big focus over there to make sure that it's easy to understand the lineage. It's easy to use the catalog with a shopping-like experience that everyone's kind of used to from their day-to-day. We're application agnostic, so we connect to tools that are, the Microsoft stack, but also to Oracle and ClickSense and Tableau and so on. We're completely agnostic. Octopai connects the dots. And there's no real integration or changes that are required from your end. A little bit about the different technologies that we support. So, for ETLs, we support all the major ETL systems that you're familiar with. So we're talking about SSIS and Informatica and Oracle, DataStage, Azure Data Factory, and so on. For databases, so the popular databases such as SQL Server, either on-prem or Azure, different Oracle databases, Netezza, Snowflake, Redshift, Teradata. We support analysis services. So it actually connects through the lineage, right? So no more kind of waiting for that OLAP developer, the one person who knows how the data got into that model that then went to a report. That's connected in Octopai as well. It'll show lineage just like any other tool. And reporting tools. So all the popular reporting tools, Power BI, Tableau, Cognos, Clicks, MicroStrategy, and so on. All right, and Shannon, I think we're ready for Q&A.
Oh, hi, thank you so much for this great presentation. We do have lots of questions coming in, so let me dive in here. So are data assets harvested automatically from BI environments only? And what of source data? What would that have to be copies of source that have been loaded into the BI environment?
Yeah, so Octopai connects to different databases. So databases sometimes are databases of the source systems as well. We can do that. But in general, if we're talking about the catalog, then you're going to have the actual copy of the source normally as a mirror into your data landscape, into your BI landscape. So we recommend documenting from there on. But there are different ways to approach that.
I love it. So what is the strategy for tags? Do you leave users freedom to assign them as they see fit, or is there a limited list of possible tags?
Perfect. So actually, that's something I did not get into. So two things about that. One is there are different types of users. They have different permissions in Octopai. We've got admins, we've got editors, and we've got viewers. So editors and admins, they're the ones who are going to be assigning the tags as well as the descriptions and so on. So it's up to them to manage the tags and decide which tags are going to be applied. Octopai automatically prompts with the tags that have already been created so that you don't create duplicates of tags. By the way, if you already have tags in your source system, for example, Snowflake, in Snowflake, you can tag assets within Snowflake. Octopai reflects those tags as well. And tags are extremely, extremely useful for searching for data. It makes searching for the assets much easier. So we recommend using them.
So how much of the information in the data catalog needs to be manually created and maintained?
Perfect. So it really depends on whether you've got that documentation anywhere, right? So if you've got the documentation about the asset somewhere, Octopai can help you automate bringing it in. So we can, of course, document all the really technical information, such as where the asset is, if there's a calculation. So we'll show the actual calculation, data types, and all that stuff. But if there's nowhere that a description already exists, that's something manual that you're going to do in the catalog. If you do have descriptions somewhere, then Octopai helps automate gathering that from there and connecting it into the catalog.
Perfect. And in the layer, I've got so many great questions coming in too. So in the layer settings menu, SSIS and Informatica are listed as ETL sources. Is data stage supported? Is there a list of supported sources available for Octopai?
Yes, of course. The slide I showed at the end, those are the main supported systems. It updates all the time on our website, so you can see them over there as well. And yes, data stage, of course, is supported as well.
I love it. I'll look to grab that link. There's a lot of connectivity issue or questions in here of products you connect to. So I'll get that link. Would a user be able to click and view the end-to-end lineage from the data catalog, or only the owner?
Yeah, so any user you provide permissions with will be able to see the lineage as well. It's a permissions thing.
And how is column level lineage derived?
So column level lineage is derived from the metadata as well. So Octopai can analyze the metadata and create those connections at a column level. We do that from the different processes, but also from the different scripts that you've got, let's say stored procedures, views, and all those things in your database, and of course, what goes on in the report. So we parse through the different tools and the different languages to create that column level lineage. It's kind of agnostic of the tool or language that they were actually written in.
Lovely. And I just threw the link into the chat for everybody with all the supported tech for Octopai. So take a look at that there. And does Octopai have workflow and data policy management?
So currently, we do not have the workflow yet, but that's soon to come within this year.
Love it. Love the pipeline. Does Octopai's data discovery have the ability to scan environments for data? For example, find data that has not been inventoried yet, such as undocumented data systems. Are the search results automatically tagged, for example, PII, PCI, so that appropriate data management actions can be taken?
So Octopai is working on automatically tagging. However, we do not connect to the data. We're going to do that through the metadata. So not sure I understood the question completely, but if you're asking about whether we can automatically tag, that's something that we're working on. It's in the near roadmap. If we're talking about actually sampling the data, that's not something that's in Octopai scope right now.
Lots of lineage questions here. Does Octopai have lineage inference for Spark jobs and non-SQL?
So the answer is that we don't have automation for that, but that's something that can be injected using our APIs into Octopai.
Love it, easy. And does Octopai support semi-structured or unstructured data sources such as Kafka streams?
So again, not supported for automatic harvesting, but supported as far as it can be injected.
Love it. There's more connectivity. So what is fully, whether is whether it is fully supported lineage through data stage jobs?
Yeah, we have full support of data stage. Mm-hmm.
Is there bilingual support?
So in our catalog, we don't have localization yet, but all the different attributes that we were just looking at, such as description, technical description, and so on, those are customizable. We can actually add additional, the admins in each company can add additional attributes. So we've got customers that actually use those to add additional languages. So we can have description and then French description, for example, and so on.
Again, there's a lot of connectivity questions here. But
so
there's
Shannon, we get a lot of questions about connectivity. I think that if every landscape is really, really different and has its own complexities, if you're having questions about or the connectivity and you think Octopai can be a good fit, but you just want to make sure that it's going to kind of fit with your infrastructure, reach out to us. You can reach out to me directly. Even here, my email is here on the screen, and I'll make sure to connect you, because obviously that's a key factor over here, and you're going to really want to make sure that the entire thing, or at least all the important systems to you, are connected. So feel free to reach out, and we'll help each one of you.
I love it. And I was just going to add too that I see on your site listing all the technology again that I put in the chat there, that it says update me when it's ready, so you can submit product names and so on and so forth, which is very cool. So just know that that's on the website as well. Are data profiles and data quality run monitored and reported?
So no, we don't run through the data. Octopai connects to metadata only. So there's that's kind of like the good with the bad kind of thing. It's going to be much easier for you to run this through your security team and get approval to get Octopai up and running, because we don't deal with data at all. But on the other hand, we do not have profiling.
And how easy is it to include non-supported technologies? For example, is there a specific file format that is needed, or can it use API?
Yeah, it's both. We've got a really simple ways to ingest the metadata. So both apply.
And can a user see historical changes in the lineage?
So that's a roadmap feature for us. It's in the pipeline.
I love it. That's the questions I'm seeing right now. If you have additional questions, feel free to submit them in the Q&A. I'll give one more minute here. I'm just looking through the chat. I don't see anything aside from the connectivity questions. All right. Well, Amahai, this has been an amazing presentation. Thank you so much for anchoring today's event. It's been great. I
Thanks for having me.
We really appreciate it. Give you all a little bit, a couple minutes back. Thanks everybody for hanging out with us today. I hope you really enjoyed today's event with a specific on data catalogs. Again, I will send a follow-up email within the next week to all registrants with links to the slides and the recordings and all the additional information you requested throughout the day. So hope you all have a great day. Thanks everybody.
Thanks, Shannon. Thanks everyone. Have a wonderful day.